called me a. Do not call me a.
Here who you are.
No, I am a Nigerian American. Do not call me a.
Don't try that.
You said you were trying on in this salon, ma'am. She called me a.
Fucking rude. Try it out or not? Huh? 因为我刚才ですけど、なんかなんでなかったんだから
She's
さ。
over talking because this is what she does.
だから
I
逆
came
した
here.
いんだっ
Stop
たら
talking.
逆し
Stop
なよ。
talking. Tell this. I stood right here. Nobody was here.
だから、
Right?
レ
So
ッス
when
ンど
it
こで
was
すか
time
って
to
聞け
go
ば
in, I said I was here. She said, "Wait,
Here,
this is
go
what she
try your
called me.
stuff.
She said, you should have stood over here." And I said, "Nobody told me this, man." And then she proceeded to call me.
Not a fucking you then. Go try your stuff or not.
But you called me. You called
Yeah.
me.
I wanted
don't
to
do
call you
that.
a because I wanted to.
That Nigerian woman's response to being called the N-word is exactly what Black Americans are talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about, that people say that we're crazy, we're making up stuff. That's why we say it really is everybody versus us. Like, nobody likes us. Her response wasn't, how disgusting is it for you to use such a racial slur? Like, you should never call somebody a derogatory term like that. It was to correct her and say, I'm not an N-word, I'm Nigerian. We're not N-words. That's the Black Americans. That's the African Americans. I'm Nigerian, I'm not an N-word. That, like, and I tried to, like, see it like maybe it was just her saying, I'm not an N-word, I'm a proud Black woman. Like, you know, but it just didn't give that. It wasn't even, it was like the audacity of calling me an N-word. I'm not a Black American, I'm Nigerian. I'm Nigerian. Like, and that's what Black Americans talk about. And I understand people are going to say, well, not all Africans are like that. Okay, well, there's enough for us to notice a pattern. There's enough for us to notice better. So if I'm not talking about you, if you're not one of those people, I'm not talking about you. But I'm talking about the ones who fit the agenda, right? And this is what we're talking about. People act like, you know, African Americans, Black Americans just make up stuff in our mind. But no, it's videos like this. And this is one of many. And it's not just Nigerians. It's Africans from all over the diaspora, right? It's, you know, Black Caribbeans. It's just animosity. Like, I don't understand. If somebody called me an N-word and my response wouldn't be, I'm not an N-word because I'm not Black American. I'm Nigerian. Come on now. Be so serious. Be serious. Like, that's, I don't know who to be more offended at. The Asian lady for being racist, because I mean, you're in Japan. They be taking pictures of Black people like they're monkeys over there in Japan and China and stuff like that. That's expected. But the Nigerian woman to be so offended, to be compared to one of us, and you're Black. And let's be honest, where do you think the slaves came from? It was your ancestors selling mine, right? And now y'all got animosity towards us because we got the better end of the bargain, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I wasn't feeling it.
Look at that clip again. That lady is in Japan, thousands of miles away. Yet she's using Black Americans as a shield. When she says, I am not N-word, I am Nigerian, what she's really trying to say is that slur belongs to Black Americans, but not to her. This is the superiority that is making many Black Americans angry. Black Americans spent 400 years fighting so that all of us with dark skin can walk with our head high. But now we're seeing some of these people using their struggle as a floor to stand on. In this video, we're going to be talking about why being African does not make you better, and why Black Americans are done being that group everyone else try to look down on. If you're enjoying this one, click on the like button and share your opinions down in the comment section. This video is for educational purpose.
That video of that Asian woman calling that Nigerian lady the N-word, and her only response to that was, hey, I'm not Black American, I'm Nigerian. It's a great example of the mind contortion that assimilation to whiteness does to immigrants that come to this country. You come to this country under the premise that, yeah, you at the bottom of the totem pole. However, you can work your way up, and at least you're not a nigger, right? That is exactly what encompasses the brain. That is why so many immigrants voted for Trump. That is why so many immigrants withhold and internalize racism. That is why so many immigrants vote against shit like funding for public schools. They vote against things like food stamps and legal aid for single mothers with children. They vote against anything having to do with felons getting jobs. They come here and do their best to assimilate to white culture. And it really hurt her feelings that that Asian woman didn't see her as separate from, hey, I'm not a Black American. I'm better than them. You can call me anything. Just don't put me in the group with the blacks. Yeah, and it's so crazy because this bitch literally looks like a Cadbury bar. And she's sitting up here trying to delineate herself from Black people because she thinks she's better than the average lowly nigga. And it's just so funny to see them get brought back down to earth. Like, no, sweetheart, they don't like your dirty ass either. They don't like you either. They think you rode here on a fucking warthog. So why do you want respect from these people at the cost of our pride and our representation? It's sick, man.
This is why I do not consider myself African American. This is why I don't consider myself African American. Because when you really think about it, to be African American, that would mean that I lived in Africa and I came to America. I've never lived in Africa. And no shade to my roots, but I've never lived in Africa. I'm not from Africa, none of that. Not talking about my ancestors, I'm talking about me. If you see an Italian American person or a person that identifies as Italian American, that's typically because they're from Italy and they come to America. Same with Nigerian American or Asian American, Chinese American, so on and so forth. Another reason why I don't identify as that is because a lot of Africans do not consider black people, black Americans, African, because we're not specifically from Africa, you know? And another thing I want to clear up, and I'm saying all these things to build up to my point so that we can get on the same page, but one thing that people don't understand is being black is a race, as in like, look at my skin complexion, I'm black, you know, that is what I identify as black, as my race, but it's also ethnicity, like an ethnic background of having those Afro roots, you know what I'm saying, Nigerian roots, African roots, black, whatever roots from, you know? So an example is me, I'm a black American, my ethnicity is black, and my race is black. You have a Nigerian American who their race is Nigerian, but their ethnicity, one of their ethnicities, you have multiple ethnicities, but one of their ethnicities, they could be considered black. We even see that with Latinas, you know, if you have those ethnic cultural backgrounds that are black, then you could be considered black. So right now I'm speaking on the race, my race being black, okay? Another thing that I've seen in think pieces, so with all that being said, another thing, like I said, the reason why I don't consider myself African American is because, like I said, once I found out that a lot of Africans do not consider black people, our race as African, or us as, you know what I'm saying? Once I figured that out, they don't consider our race as African or anything like that. Not our ethnicity, but our race. I separate myself, and this video explains it specifically because she thinks that she's above, you know what I'm saying? She thinks that she's above blackness in general because she's an immigrant from Africa. She thinks she's above. And it just goes to show, for some reason, there's this unspoken, which I found out a few years ago, but there's this unspoken, I hope this isn't all over the place, I'm just talking off my mind, but there's like this unspoken like competition between authentic African people and people of African descent, and more specifically black Americans, which a lot of black Americans don't even know that it's an issue. A lot of us don't even know that, because when we see an African, you know, we're like, oh, that's a black person, they're African but they're black, you know, we don't, you know what I'm saying, we're not competing on who's closer to the motherland, you know, who you know what I'm saying, it's just weird.
Not gonna lie, but mixed niggas who are still in denial that mixed and black are not the same thing, I hate when y'all be coming here saying, well, we're black too, we're the same as you, because white people call us niggers too. And I'm like, shut up. Shut the fuck up. Listen, you can't even say culture or nothing. Mind you, we got the same culture. We got similar culture. You can't say, well, I grew up in this culture too. I grew up doing this. No, it's always, well, the white man call us niggers too. White man will call anybody that. I ain't even gonna hold y'all. Like, I'm not saying they don't call black people specifically that, but I done seen white people use that word too loosely for that to be your criteria on why you black. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I'm like, not the culture, not the food, not the customs. It's the slurs. It's the slurs. A white man had to call you a slur and basically tell you he hates you somewhat like the fully black people for you to realize you're black. That's just crazy. And our black Americans do the same thing. They be like, well, the white man see us all the same, and that's what made us same. No. No. Come up with something else. Come up with something else, because now I'm going to look at you, and I ain't really going to fuck with you now, because now you sound dumb. Now I'm sitting here looking at you like you really don't respect blackness, which non-black Americans don't respect blackness as much the same way I respect blackness. Also, they don't respect blackness the same way I respect blackness. That's why they say that dumb shit. They just think, you know, in their eyes, blackness it's just how white people treat them, basically. Blackness is not that to me, but like, yeah, I'm looking like you fucking stupid.
Okay, are you bothered that she called you the N-word? Or I'm a Nigerian, I'm not a FBA, so don't call me that particular word. Because when I kept playing it back over and over and over, that's kind of what I was getting out of that. Like, don't call me. But see, here's the thing. You can say you're Nigerian or whatever else you want to say that you are, but they see that you are black and they will call you that word, period. Now, of course, I'm not saying every Japanese person in Tokyo would say something like that. I've known people personally that've been to Tokyo and they had great experiences. So I'm not saying that all people in Japan are like that. We speak about on this particular woman. But in my opinion, when you travel, you just kind of got to know, number one, where you at, and you're in somebody else's country. When you're in somebody else's country, you may deal with some things. And so you guys just know how to deal with that accordingly. Now, if it were me and she would have called me that or whatever, I won't respond the way I probably would respond here in America, because when you're in a foreign country, they're going to agree with them. They're not going to agree with the foreigner, which would be me, right? So I would have to just go, you know what? Let me go ahead on. I'm going to go to the manager right now and say, listen, I was going to buy all these items, but that woman over there, she was being disrespectful. She called me a racial slur. And I'm sorry, I'm just not going to buy this and just put it there, because usually in Japanese culture, they don't really play too much about being disrespectful. From what at least a little bit I do know about Japanese culture. They don't like disrespect. So if anything, I would have said something to the manager and I would have left. I would have made my post on social media or whatever the case may be, telling them about, hey, don't go to this store. They got people there who are anti-black racists. And of course, I would have made my video when I got back here. Not when I was over there. Because remember, when you're in somebody else's country, you got to be careful even talking about people in their country, because they can get at you. So you make your video when you get back here to America. But whether you're Nigerian, American, or FBA, don't matter.
At this point, going to a country where you know they don't like black people, getting racially abused, and then uploading it online has to be a degradation kink or something. Like, don't go to countries where we've repeatedly seen black people being treated in a hostile manner. Get exactly what you knew was going to happen, what we've seen happen 1 billion times, and then upload it on the internet. I mean, I've seen, why are you in Japan shopping in H&M? What do they have in the H&M in Japan, or is it Zara, or what is it that they don't have in whatever country you're from? Now the girl called you an N-word with her chest too, and there's nothing you can do about it. Do you know how enraging that video was for me to watch? With her chest, the girl said, shut, move, man. Bro, listen. Stop going to these damn countries, because if you were in your own home country and she did that, you would have handled it completely differently. So not only have you now been racially, abused, you have no power to do anything, because you're in a society where they're not even it's not gonna register. They're probably gonna racially abuse you too when you go report it to the police. Why do you guys keep doing this? Then you upload it onto the internet and people are in the comment, oh my God, I'm so angry. Angry about what? You couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me to go to any of these countries. I promise you.
Brothers and sisters, that clip, the one we started with, is an indication of how some African immigrants see black Americans. You have seen how that Nigerian lady was called that word, and her first reaction was, I'm not that word, I am a Nigerian. We can understand why she said it. She wanted to stand for herself. But for many black Americans watching this video, that feels like a slap in the face. It sounds like she's trying to mean that the slur might fit black Americans, but it doesn't fit her because she's from Nigeria. But let me tell y'all, Africans, my fellow Africans, a person being racist does not care about your passport. To a racist person, all black people looks the same. Trying to use your country or your origin to act better than black Americans does not stop racism, and that is not a good behavior. In these clips, you see black Americans saying, if Africans don't want to be linked with us, why are they even calling us African Americans? If I am not wrong, that Nigerian lady is a Nigerian American, and she was able to migrate to the USA because of the fights of these black Americans. So it is shameful for her to migrate to the US and start looking down on black Americans. And these kinds of people, these kinds of behaviors is what is making many black Americans to stop identifying themselves as African American. But instead, they're choosing to identify themselves as foundational black American. They want their identity to only belong to them. The most important part of this video is for y'all to realize that money, education, or a specific country that you are from will not save you from hate. Some people think that if they act proper or show that they are from a good family in Africa, they will get more respect than a black American from Chicago or Atlanta. But this video proves that that is a lie. That Japanese employee used the worst words possible. They didn't see a Nigerian American with a bright future. They saw a black woman. When melanated people fight by saying that I am not like that other person, we are actually helping the racist. We are agreeing with them that there is a bad kind of black person. All of these black Americans who reacted on this video were feeling betrayed by what that Nigerian lady did. Y'all Africans, the Caribbeans, black Brits, whether you are living in the USA or out of the USA. We need to stop thinking that our specific countries make us safe. Whether you are born in Lagos, Nairobi, London, or New York, the world see your skin color before your visit. If we keep throwing each other under the bus to look better to other groups, we will all keep losing. We need to realize that racism is a threat to all of us, no matter where our parents are from. To all Africans and the Caribbeans, whenever you see your brother or your sister showing those kinds of behaviors, please call him or her out, because it needs to stop. So if you have enjoyed watching this episode, click on the like button and tell me what you think down there in the comment section. See you next time. Ciao.